said, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I'm your host of the Trap or Die Podcast, Mual. In here with the good man Dre, Monty. I see you. Let me go ahead and add AJ to the stream. Slow start today. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I think something going on with the StreamYard app. I have, like, as I'm talking right now, AJ and Dre is moving on my camera. I mean, on my screen, and I am just frozen. So I have no idea what's going on. I can see the comments a little bit, so I'm gonna just go ahead and continue on like nothing's wrong. So let's get through the administrative items. If you are new to the YouTube channel, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate you checking in. On that side, man, hit that like button as well. Audio side, man, hit that follow button. Hit us with a rating review if you can. It takes 10 seconds to do so, and it's free to show your support. Scheduling wise, there is going to be, okay, that worked. Let me move over a little bit. All right, so now that's working a little bit. Scheduling wise, all 32 is on tomorrow. The morning show will be live on Friday morning. There will be no morning show tomorrow, but we will have one Friday, and we will be back next week, next Tuesday, or maybe even a Sunday. We'll get that sorted out in the upcoming days. Fellas, how y'all doing, man? Dre, AJ, what's up?
I'm good, man. Can't complain.
I'm better than Sunday, man.
Better than Sunday. What a day. Monty, like I said, I see you. Jay Tizzy, he said. Jay Tizzy, I see you too. Appreciate everybody who's checking it live, man. Sunday was rough, bro. Sunday was rough. That I feel like the amount of frustration and anger that I had in my system from Sunday at like 5 p.m., maybe even 4:30 p.m., up until Tuesday morning, today, like 9 a.m. I'm not lying. Like,
you just get
that's how, bruh. I had to start typing. I had to start tweeting, bruh, because I was like, bruh, there's no other. I can't. I have to do something, bruh. Like I thought going to the gym Monday morning was going to help me. And I was like, man, I could just work this. I could work this shit off, bro. This ain't nothing, bro. And I woke up. I was so mad. I was like, bro, I can't go to the gym. Can't do it right now. So I waited till the afternoon. Didn't work. But like, I feel like, bro, that day, y'all. I don't know if both y'all watched I Am Athlete or if what up, Benz? I don't know if y'all watched I Am Athlete in the chat, but I felt like that one episode, like the throwback episode where Brandon Marshall became a meme and his vein was like throbbing out of on his forehead, bro, because he was spazzing. Like, I think the more frustrating thing about me, bro, is like from a competitive aspect, there's no way. Like, I don't like losing, like no angle, even if I'm a spectator or if I'm a gambler or if I'm a actual athlete competing in the game. I feel like every angle of a loss it hits me hard. So like when I look at this game, bro, let's go ahead and get through our final thoughts. All right, so Monty saying it. Jay Tizzy said it hurt. I was getting some comments about the performance that I had on the show Sunday, like DMs, tweets, people responded after the show, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I said. I mean, I don't remember 90% of what I said. I would say that. I remember like two main points that I was talking about, and I truly believe in. I love, it's two things that I love and hate. I love that people was able to see that competitive side of me. Like, that's literally me and my intense nature. Like, I didn't want these boys to lose at all, bro. And like, I love that people saw that, because if you never knew how much of a fan I was, like I used to be like Sundays when Washington lost, when I was really locked in before like the previous owner really ruined it for me. If we lost, the whole day was done for me. Like, don't talk to me. Don't, like, I ain't trying to do nothing. Don't ask me to take out the trash, because I was a kid in my folks' house. Don't ask me to take out the trash. Like, don't even crack no jokes. I had a cousin who lived with me, bro. He was born and raised in, well, he was born in DC. They moved to Seattle, so he ended up becoming a Seahawks fan because he moved out there when he was young. So when Washington lost and Seattle's going to Super Bowls and playoffs, like, don't talk to me during this time, bro. Like, I don't want to hear none of that. But like when those periods when I was really locked in, like, I'm glad people got to understand, like, that's the type of passion that I have. That's good. But I feel like from a show perspective, that was not the way the show was intended on going, bro. Because I got so sidetracked with the fact that we lost that I forgot that we had to do a show, bro. All my energy was drained by the time I had to do the underdog ad read. Like, I had nothing left in my tank because I was going crazy, bro.
But Mo, that's actually the beauty of what happened this season is a lot of us kind of forgot what this feels like, what this kind of pain feel like. Because for years, what was it? You know, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you just don't care no more. It's just kind of
you're oblivious.
No, it's not that.
It's
I don't know
some
why.
form of neutral. Damn.
Well, basically,
I know what you're talking about. I know the word.
Yeah, right. Well, you're just not all the way into it. I mean, that's what we felt for years here. Like we felt that for years, where it just wins didn't really mean too high. You didn't get too high off of wins. You didn't get too low off of losses, because you always felt like you were coming back to whatever Washington was over the last 25 years, which was some kind of misery. So you just stopped caring after a while. Like, this season has brought out every emotion back to the fan base, because I'm with you, Mual. Like, Sunday night, I was pissed. I honestly probably would have been going off with you if I could get on, but my phone was acting up at the time. That's why I was still a little mad. Like, I didn't even tweet until today. Like, people was checking up on me, like, you okay, bro? You okay, bro? No, I wasn't okay. Like, I had to get that shit off my chest. I had to, think about, everything that will be coming. So, today I'm fine. Like, everything's good. But, like, no, yesterday I wasn't really good. Sunday night I damn sure wasn't good. So it took a couple of days to process. But then now it just feels good again to, feel this way about this team again, because that feeling had left us for a long time. So I'm kind of glad to know
this is 98% liquor. 98% liquor in this.
Oh, you still drinking? Okay.
Hey, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I pulled up the rest of the bottle before the show started. I said, I dumped that bitch up, bro.
Jay Tyler and Ben's got the word apathy. That's the word I was looking for. Apathetic apathy. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
or nonchalant. Maybe that's the word I was thinking of too. But I got you. Apathy, apathetic, nonchalant, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a bottle up of emotions of being a fan of an organization for so long and going through misery, going through the quarterback carousel, head coaching carousel, the incompetence of management, whether it be at the top or head coaching. I mean, everyone's entitled to feel how they feel. I mean, of course, you wanted the result to be a different way. I think that I didn't really see anything wrong with the show at all. I mean, those that actually know you know that you're that type of person. Like, you're competitive. Like, I'm competitive as well, but I think it just looks two different ways. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, we did a show 20 minutes after the loss of the franchise that we covered 2-3 times a week, and you even to a higher degree film study, all those things. So if you ain't show some type of care, then what you really doing it for? A lot of people that watch the show could then interpret it to be just for monetary purposes, but the honest truth is the reason why we three collectives have come together and been doing the show is because of our one thing that we love, and that's the Washington franchise, Redskins football team, whatever the name might be. We're tied in the Washington for life. It's the beginning also of a new stage for families and their kids. You know, that's why it was so important to see those Jaden Daniels jerseys on kids, you know, on Sunday going into this matchup. Those kids are going to fall into the fact of loving this team again and having someone to idolize and look up to and wanting to be like. They also now have something that they can champion and root for. Yeah, the loss was a significant loss as far as the magnitude of where they could have been. Also, the score. Even in my opinion, the score doesn't dictate the flow of the true game. Like, the game was much closer than what the final score is indicative of. Like, that's what I think I was really trying to even convey on Sunday. It's like, yeah, it says 55, what was it, 55-23? But in actuality, this game was so much closer. Like, it's just
but
some blunders that happened along the way. And
see, but part of that though, that's why I'm frustrated. It's like, or that's why truthfully, Dre, it took me today to really like try to start processing through my emotions, but I don't know when I'm gonna really get over this. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know when the date is gonna come. But I say, like, what really stung about this is like Washington had every opportunity to really stay in this game from a defensive standpoint and from an offensive standpoint. Washington had the offense where they had critical moments where they're driving down the football field. They're responding to Eagles scoring the football or having positive drives offensively, despite how explosive their offense was in some instances. And you're talking about a offense and even special teams point where they're turning the football over. And it's like, it's not all like you're getting strapped. You're going 3 and out. You're getting 7 plays and you're punting. Like that never happened until one of the last drives of the game where I don't know who the person was that sacked Jaden, but it was a 4th and 12, and Brandon Coleman gives up the sack or allows the sack, and that's at the end of the game where they're already down like 3 scores. Like, before that, you're talking about an offense who's firing on every single time Jaden gets the ball back. They're getting the ball, they're pushing the ball down the field, and whether it's not for an error from your receivers or running backs, you're talking about a team who's getting in the end zone. And like, knowing how the game went down and seeing exactly every opportunity that Washington had in front of them, that is painful to see. And part of what I'm trying to relate to people, but also to the people like AJ, when I was talking to you, I this is one of the things that I do remember. You represent your response to the game represented a narrative that I don't want people to get comfortable with. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. With Jaden Daniels in the picture, you can talk Super Bowls. You can picture all of that. I think with Washington though, and honestly, bro, like, even when I say this, there's nothing that we can do. Like, I need to understand that there's nothing that we physically can do. It's all gonna be on Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, etc. But I think people need to understand, like, the idea of we'll be back. Whether it's faith-based or whether it's like, I know this is going to happen, one or the other. If it's faith-based, okay, I can understand that. Like, I got faith that we'll be back. Okay, cool. I got faith in a lot of things. And I believe in a higher power as well. But it's like, there's no tangible evidence yet that we'll be back. And obviously, I think everybody knows that. But I think the bigger picture in the more in your face, we need to address this part of it is, like, if the Philadelphia Eagles game in the championship match didn't teach you exactly where your holes existed on offense and defense, then you are fighting a losing battle. Now, I know Adam Peters understands this, but that's what makes this offseason even more critical, is because we cannot sit here and think that getting back to the championship game is sweet. Like, you got to hope you even win the division and get some home games. Like, you can't just keep banking on the wild card and getting in. And that's why, like, I love what this offseason is going to provide to us. It's going to give us an opportunity to see how good Adam Peters can work in the offseason. But also, I look at these guys and I say, bruh, if you ain't getting better in the trenches, if you ain't getting this offense some playmakers outside of Terry, because Terry showed in the playoffs, like De'Ami was cool. Like he made some plays. No, there's no way to, sorry, and Jay Tizzy, like your boy made some plays, bro. Like no question. But like Terry is the bona fide star on offense. And after him is Zach Ertz. Like, let's be real. After him is Zach Ertz and then Austin Eckler. And then De'Ami Brown. But like I think if you don't understand what you need offensively, bro, from the offensive line to the playmaker spot, like you need somebody who can create some explosives for you. All Philly got, bro. Let me actually take that back. That was disrespectful. Philly has AJ, Devontae, Saquon, Jalen, who's underutilized. Anybody after that game, you should realize it's not like he's underperforming. He's just underutilized. Like they don't need him. They just need Saquon. That offensive line does the work and Saquon does the rest. And then it's like, all right, well, if we need to, let's go ahead and throw it to AJ, get him happy. Or Devontae, make a couple plays, get you out there. I'll leave it there, but that's literally my thing when I was like, I just didn't want that narrative to exist immediately after that game. I understand the optimism side. I understand having faith, but like we need action because there's no guarantee that you be back. And like saying that for me, after the way that they just lost, is like, bro, we need so much. And I have faith in us, but we need so much. And I need to see what they do because that is going to be around for a couple more years, at least. Philadelphia is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was already prevalent when these two took on the job, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. That's why the roster overhaul was so massive, almost resembling how Colorado went into the transfer portal. I mean, they completely flipped the entire team upside down. There's very few players from the previous regime that carried over and started and actually have pivotal roles within this year. It almost reminds me of like during the Olympics last year, South Sudan versus America, you know, like at the end of the day, you can play with them, but you're not going to be able to beat them because the reality is the Eagles got playmakers. They got playmakers on opposite side at wide receiver. They got a playmaker at quarterback. They got a playmaker and running back. They got two stalwarts at left, right tackle. Then on the defensive side, they may not have like the same amount of star power, but Jalen Carter allowed them the opportunity to just play 4-man rush. That was it. They ain't have the blitz. And because you have a lack of talent at wide receiver, Terry is there, but at the end of the day, he can only do but so much. You're relying on a bunch of Jags to push you over to the next level, and they've done an amazing job that got them to that point, but you need more. So the same way you're fired up, a bunch of the other fans, Dre as well, even me, I may not show it the same way. I just know that this offseason they're going to attack this so much differently and aggressively, and it's no guarantee to get back there. I think maybe from like just the work that I've done in this industry, I've had clients where, like, let's take Cam Chancellor. They lost the Super Bowl on the 1 yard line with Marshawn Lynch, threw an interception, never returned back to a Super Bowl again. Like, yeah, won one in the past, but then I've also had other guys that never won a playoff game, never played in a playoff game. Some that have lost Super Bowls, some that have won Super Bowls, never have gotten back there yet. It's been 13 plus years. They're still in the league and they still haven't gotten back there yet. So it's no guarantee. I just feel like the hope is that these guys stay healthy. That's the main key, because we took out the number 1 seed in the NFC. You know, the Lions felt like they were going to be at the Super Bowl, and they ended up not even getting the chance to play in the conference championship. So it's not guaranteed. I think the benefit and how I was looking at it from an outlook standpoint is I realized football. Like, I realized they got fucking dogs. Like, the Eagles got dogs. You feel me? Like, it's going to take more than just a little bit of effort to beat those guys. You're going to need to go to a whole different sphere of the spectrum to win. And right now, Washington doesn't have that. So I'm looking forward to the retooling, the recalibration of this offseason. I think that's what a lot of fans should be looking forward to. And just seeing what Adam Peters does, I think in about 3 weeks from now, you'll get a real good glimpse of how this is going to go and what direction and how aggressive they intend on being. But this team desperately needs playmakers, and that was evident more than ever than any other game this season with an opportunity to go to Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the things that was weirdly encouraging about all of this to me was seeing Jaden Daniels' reaction to all of this. I mean, his reaction from Sunday to the Monday interview, the presser that he had, kind of reminded me of kind of how me and Mual felt, after the game. Like, he looked pissed. And it kind of even made me wonder if that factored into his Pro Bowl decision. Like, I'm so pissed right now. Like, I can't take this. And that's one of the things that's kind of making me think that this is going to be a thing where we are in this conversation every year. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to get to the conference championship game every year. Hard to get to the Super Bowl. You see that. But when you got a guy with that kind of fire and that kind of edge at the most important position in all of football, it makes you confident that that guy is going to lead you back there a couple of times, or if he's not going to lead you, then you're going to be in that mix or in that conversation. I mean, when you talk about the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL, which a lot of people have been comparing Jaden to, Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, even you get the Burrows, those type of guys. Those guys are in the mix or in the conversation every year. But if you are in the AFC, it's just been kind of hard to get past Mahomes. But in the NFC, you're right now, and I talked about this on Twitter early, and I'm going to go into, the offseason. You got to kind of build to beat the Eagles now. Now, it's not too many quarterback gauntlets that you got to go through in this conference. And now it's the offseason to say, how do I get my core up to beat the Eagles? And when you talk about the Eagles, obviously you talk about Saquon Barkley, that's the man as far as, playmakers go. But you talk about the offensive line and you talk about the defensive lines of Philly. They whooped your ass, and that's what they did. Like, we didn't have the dogs or the horses to kind of compete with those guys in the trenches, the most important part of the game. Like, I mean, they were talking about it on Fox when you're watching the game. Everything's hard against the Eagles, especially even for our offense. As good as our offense is, they made us work for every damn inch or every damn yard we wanted to get. And Jaden was ready. He was doing his thing, but we had to overwork to do it. You know what I mean? So it didn't even dawn on me that we didn't even run the fucking football, bro.
I mean, because you knew that your guys up front was gonna get dogged. So, like, honestly, Cliff only ran just to keep them honest, but it wasn't to gain 10 yards. It wasn't to gain 8 yards. It was just to keep them honest. I mean, Zach Ertz finished the game with over 100 receiving yards, bro. That just tells you how they played the defense. Yeah. They were like, we're gonna let Ertz eat, but anybody else they're gonna have to have the day of their life out here.
But look at the first drive of the game. I mean, the first drive of the game, what we ran like damn near 20 plays on the first drive. 17, most of those were pass plays. Like, I think we probably passed the first 7 or 8 plays of that drive. That just kind of showed you the game plan. Cliff knew it. I mean, you're not going to go up there and because to be good in the run game, you have to be good in the trenches. And we already are at a disadvantage or a mismatch going up against that Philly line, especially with Sam Cosmi not playing. You're rotating guards at right guard. Like, in Allegretti, I thought Allegretti had a really good season, but I also think you got to upgrade there. And one of the upgrades may be on the team. You're talking about Brandon Coleman. I don't think Brandon Coleman's a tackle at this point. I'm not sure if I want to go into next season relying on Brandon Coleman at left tackle, but I think he could have a home at guard. I do think that, that's something he played at college, and I do think that I would rather play him there versus putting him out there on that island at left tackle anymore. So, I mean, but that's one of the things you have to worry about the trenches this offseason. Like that, I mean, obviously you need playmakers. You're not going to fix everything in one offseason. I know people hate to hear that, but it's true.
That's another thing I want to tap into, but we can do that. We can do that on the back end. Let's do a recap of just 2024. Let's talk about some of the players that's spoken out. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn spoke as well. We can just talk about some things that stood out, but we can definitely talk about some of the things that's going to be important moving forward, especially this offseason and expectations this offseason. And Jay Tizzy, I'm actually with you. When you said we couldn't run, That's why I brought it up. It's not the fact that like we should have ran more. I was acknowledging the fact that they didn't run it because they didn't think that they could run against Philly. Like that was the problem. they just said F it. We're just gonna put the ball in Jaden hands. So I'm with you on that. Let's get into the ads right quick, and then let's talk some football. By the way, we're doing call-ins today. That's also part of the administrative items I forgot. I'm sorry. But the link is in the description, in the YouTube description. If you click that or open that, expand the box, you should be able to see the link for the call-in. We'll take about a couple calls today, get your thoughts off, and we can have a conversation. But it's definitely in there. If y'all want to join up while we're doing the ad, feel free. Take a couple calls and get back to the show. But let me tell y'all something about Underdog Fantasy, man. Let me tell y'all about Underdog Fantasy. The best app for your big game is actually on your phone. It's called Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in all your takes during the big game. Y'all know which game I'm talking about. Which players are going off and which ones are ice cold. Make your entries in just a few taps. With their pick'em game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing high or low on your player stats, such as passing yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and more. I did an all touchdown pick'em last week, and I'm so mad because I had like a 5 or 6 legger. The last leg was Travis Kelce, and it never dawned on me to even think about Patrick Mahomes, who scored twice. I ain't even put him on the pick. I should have did it. Anyway, Underdog got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Create entries with all your football picks or mix and match across your favorite sports. Think about Patrick Mahomes, right? I wonder what his number going to be in the playoffs, or even Jalen Hurts, because some people are so scared about his number. Sometimes his passing yards get as low as 178, 180. That boy put up 200 easily against the Commanders. Think about that during the big game. Underdog is the only pick'em that puts power to cash in your hands now. You can either ride them with your entry or tap the win now button to cash out whenever you want. Every dog deserves a second chance as well. With Underdog Rescues, you can earn your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. That is important because guess who got hurt in the championship game? Kenneth Gainwell. And there's a specific app out there that will not be named during this promo who had him at 8.5 rushing yards, higher or lower. I took the higher. He got hurt at halftime. He had 8 rushing yards. My entry lost because he was hurt. Oh, that hurts. Anyway, Underdog is the best place to pay pick 'em. Download the app now. Sign up using promo code TRAPORDIVE and deposit to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. I repeat, that is promo code TRAPORDIVE. Kenneth Gainwell, bro, I could cry. It was two more legs, and I needed Jaden Daniels to throw another touchdown, but he threw a pick to the corner. Must be 18 years or older, 19 years or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 years or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Board in Colorado, concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. If you're in Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. If you're in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to HOPE-NY. Okay, I see. Solid Underdog, man. Changing the disclaimer up. Okay. There we go. Let's get back to the show. All right, so okay. Where we at? All right, so season-wise, I think first and foremost on my end, shout out to everybody who has been along for the ride through Trapper Dive. Everybody that's in the chat weekly, everybody who does come in on the call-ins. We've been pretty limited compared to years past, but people who've been on the call-ins, man, you be a part of the show, morning shows, everything, all that stuff. We definitely appreciate y'all being on the ride for what was a fun year. And despite how painful the championship game was and how frustrating it is, at least from some people who feel that pain, you know, this season was incredible, bro. And it was probably, it was no question the most exciting season I ever had as a fan. I don't know what pre 1999 seasons are. And even in 1999, I was still a kid. I was only 6-7 years old. But to that point, like I was too young to really like lock in anything. This was the best season I ever had as a fan. This is the best season I ever had from a media side, like covering it. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world, honestly. And I look at like the moments throughout the season, like NFL.com or NFL YouTube channel has a 55-minute highlight reel of Jaden Daniels online right now. Like I can go to Ascend, which is a store, you know, that sells, you know, that good stuff. You know, I could go there, cop a little edible, or maybe like a little pre-roll, or maybe get some flour. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could do it. You know what I'm saying? I work for the government. Somebody could do it. Roll up. They could smoke a little something. Had 55 minutes of just watching Jaden highlights just to reminisce about how great this season was and how much to look forward to the future. Like that's how good this season was. And knowing that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn has an understanding of what's needed to compete, and you hope that, you know, they actually carry it out, but it has an understanding and has a building block, at least offensively. Like that's the one that stands tall. Like Jaden Daniels, build around him. Defensively is one of the biggest question marks of like, honestly, bro, I'm not even citing. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think defensively, building this defense up moving forward is probably one of the most pivotal moments of like the last decade, if not longer. Like that's how, because you never had a quarterback like this, you never had a window like this realized in just one short period of time. I think that moving forward, man, it's just been an incredible year to really sit back and look for. Sit back. This is just very confusing. Sit back, realize what you have, and look forward to what you can have with these guys in place from the front office to the head coach to the quarterback. How do you move forward from there? But anyway, how do y'all feel about the season? How do you feel about kind of where we're going?
I mean, it was definitely a amazing season. Thankful to God to even be able to see it. I know one of my life dreams, if anyone asked me to write down 5 things I would want to accomplish or do before I die, and that is to see Washington get to a Super Bowl as an adult and be able to partake in a parade. Since my adult years, that has not even been a reality to even discuss, but it's something that I clinged on to and was almost there. You feel me? But even the joy of being almost there was rewarding to know that there's still hope for, you know, that to happen within however God, you know, gives me on this earth. Being a lifelong Washington fan, being a football fan, working in the industry, seeing the joy that guys that I've worked with, they have, their family, their friends, communities, being a part of celebration of.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, like, yeah, having those moments of seeing what it looks like to win a championship. It was an amazing season. I mean, I was born in '87, so Super Bowls were won by this team while I was alive, but I wasn't able to digest the sport, the nuances of the sport like how I can now. So this was the greatest season. Prior to that, it was the RG3 rookie year. This surpasses this by a long shot, you know. Just glad to see how everyone is re-engaged with the organization, and I now feel that Washington will have home field advantage going into next year's season. When they play their home games, it won't necessarily feel like away games, and they've been starving for a franchise quarterback and a reason to believe. Now they got a reason to believe and invest their money into the team, buying tickets, traveling with the team, also being there to root on this team and their opponents that they'll play at home. So yeah, it was an amazing year, man. I just am so glad that the quarterback position is solved, and we no longer have to worry about likes of like Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, and those individuals being discussed. You now have your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, and this is someone that's not dependent on their legs solely as their main attribute. This is someone that could do both. So even as the years go on, the legs, the speed and agility may fade away a little bit. That accuracy and that arm is still going to be there for a long ass time, and that's something that he's already doing at a high clip and already one of the best in the league at. And with the assets that they have to them, I also believe that there was guys that watched this game, other NFL players currently that watched this game on Sunday saying, I can be a difference maker for that team. I can go and join Jaden and flip this over for the organization and turn Jaden into being a Super Bowl champion if I pair along with him. That's the only reason why I'm kind of upset about the Pro Bowl a little bit, not going, but he still has that opportunity to build those relationships and network and try to encourage guys to join him. It's kind of like the NBA space. When people are saying you creating these super teams, well, this is how relationships get kickstarted, and this is how you encourage guys by the play that you have on the field, but also by your network. And I just think a lot of guys took in that game on Sunday and were like, I might be the missing piece for that team to get over the cliff all the way.
For me, as I said out here, y'all, as you notice, I'm not where I normally am doing this podcast.
Yeah, this man Dre doing his stakeout, bro.
Yeah, I'm actually outside.
We about to pop up on, bro.
Now, my son is at basketball practice right now, so I'm in the car waiting for him at basketball practice. But I'm bringing that up to say that's been my favorite thing about this season is watching him finally get to experience a good team. Like, he's always watched the games with me, but it's always been misery to the point where I felt like, damn, I feel so bad that I'm getting my son into this. Like, I've spent my whole entire adult life watching this shitty team that is not rewarding at all. And my son likes the team, obviously, because I like the team. And he's 14 now. So throughout his 14 years, he hasn't experienced anything good. But this season, Jaden Daniels has just gave him that, what I felt as a child when I watched the 91 Super Bowl team. That was the team I always felt like, oh, we can get back to this moment, even though that never happened again. But I got to experience something as a child, and he finally gets to experience it as a teenager, a team that is good, like what success kind of looks like, what a great quarterback looks like. And this is going to be something that's going to carry on with him for years. Like, he's going to have Jaden Daniels for years to watch. So, I mean, that's that's probably the best thing I took from this season is enjoying that experience with him and rewarding him finally with something. But, I mean, going forward, looking at the defense, one of the things I'm looking forward to the most this offseason is how this team really shapes the defense into the mode of a Dan Quinn or Joe Witt vision. And you look at last year's offseason, they brought in guys like Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler. Now, those guys were brought in with the mindset of, we want to bring somebody that's familiar with what we do to kind of install or instill the culture that we want to bring. And I think that's those signings were successful from that standpoint. But now you're talking about, who do we start to get now that's going to kind of shape what we want to be as a defense, like what you want to see as a defense, like the guys that's going to change things on defense. And I think about back to Dallas when they finally got Micah Parsons on that defense with Dan Quinn. Like that changed everything for Dallas once they got that playmaker. So who's going to be that type of guy that they're going to go out there and get? Now, I don't know if they're going to identify that guy this year, but I mean, obviously you got years to build this thing. And that's what I was kind of talking about earlier, that you don't, you can't build or fix everything in one off season, but that's cool because we've already fixed the quarterback position and you're going to be in those conversations regardless. So now it's just building brick by brick. So you're going to, you may not address every hole, and it does seem a little overwhelming when you start to think about Washington's holes. But again, when you have that quarterback all you got to do is kind of keep layering and stacking the roster till you get to that point to where the Eagles are. Like the Eagles and all those teams weren't built overnight either. Like this has been years of building that Howie Roseman and all those guys have been doing. They've been building those teams for years. We're just getting started. Like, and we're still going to be in those conversations with those teams. Like, as long as we have that quarterback, the window's open. But yes, I'm just looking forward to seeing who's going to be those game changers that they're going to go out there to get that's going to match the vision of Dan Quinn and a Joe Witt defense. That's the most exciting thing to me.
Yeah. Who after this season do you look at from the 1-year deals and you say like we need to re-sign him, or even people who, like, for example, Terry McLaurin? I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm updating my opinion on him. First and foremost, he needs an extension. I think going into his last year of his deal, I believe, I don't think he has any guaranteed money. I think he's in the same boat as John Allen. If not, he's going into his last year of his deal. I have to look it up. After the season that he had, and also the performance that he put on in the postseason, 16 total touchdowns. I just think is an extension of the work that he put in the offseason. One of the things that he said going into 2024 was like he really needed to work on his yards after the catch, being able to create as a playmaker after the catch, after the ball is in his hands. I look at several moments where, that came to fruition. Granted, one of the biggest ones of his career, I will believe, is actually the Dallas Cowboys game, where, even for a large part of this season, fellas, for Terry, now I know I asked the question, but like to the point of like Terry getting an extension in the work that he put in, Terry, like, he still had that stigma of a person who didn't have like long speed and would always get the shoestring tackle on him, like well into like the middle part of the season. And then all of a sudden it changed. He started breaking long touchdowns. He started breaking away from defenders. And I think one of the highlights of his career in terms of moments is honestly that Dallas Cowboys game that goes down for a loss in Washington. You're talking about a person who has like an 80-yard or 86-yard, whatever it was, 86-yard catch and run where he's weaving through defenders untouched. And like it's like 70 yards a yak. And then obviously you see the performance that he put on in the postseason. One of the more impressive plays was like a 35, 36-yarder against the Eagles. Like, you're talking about that's all effort, a catch and run effort to get into the end zone. Like, that's impressive. And then obviously before that, like the smoke screen or whatever it was to Terry to beat the blitz. Like, that's all work that he put in. Obviously you got to help from some blockers, but the point is like improving your yak, being able to have these plays where you're physically tough enough to get into the end zone is something that he set out to improve upon going into 2024. And like you see tangible evidence and tangible moments of him like really having that work pay off. He needs an extension. And then there's several other players who's going into free agency that I think need some too. And I want to get y'all the floor to talk about who y'all think should be those guys.
I definitely would be bringing Zach Ertz back. I feel like he can still contribute at a high level. His overall statistics show that. His nuances of route running and just the relationship that he has with Jaden, I can guarantee he'll be back. Bobby Wagner, he's his own agent. I think he'll be back as well. That's someone that I definitely would re-sign. Some people.
Is he a starter?
Bobby Wagner.
Is he a starter in 2025?
Yeah, he's a starter. That's the only way you bring him back is if he's going to start.
I don't disagree with that. You bring him back if he starts, but I'm like,
yeah, you could get faster at the position, and that's what you're hoping Jordan McGee can learn from a Wagner. But when it comes to Bobby, he's the quarterback of that defense. Like, he understands what's going on. I think that Joe Witt Jr., Dan Quinn have to sit back and also reevaluate their defense as a whole and how they plan on stopping the run. I got to look at the numbers, and I had pulled it up, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's been a while since a Dan Quinn led defense has been one of the top run stoppers defensively, and I think they have to adjust in their approach of how they go about bringing in certain personnel. But yes, I'm bringing back Bobby Wagner. Jeremy Chin, I'm definitely bringing him back if I can at a fair price. But I think after that, I'm cool with letting the rest of the list. Oh, I also bring back Marcus Mariota. I think he was a valuable piece to that quarterback room, and in the opportunities he had against Carolina and Dallas, he showed that he could play within this offense. But yeah, I'm not necessarily hard pressed for the Noah Igbinogheni's. I don't even remember the rest of the guys that are even free agents. I'm trying to remember. Dami Brown, nah, he can dip. Uh, Dante Fowler, he's a good third down pass rush specialist. I think you could keep him in the fold. He had an amazing year in that regard, but he can't set the edge at all. So that's the only dynamic. If you bring back Fowler, you got to be bringing back someone that can truly play that position all three downs. I think Clelin Ferrell was on a 1-year contract too. I wouldn't bring him back. Yeah, I'm seeing John Bates is a free agent.
2020, I think he was a 21 draft pick, so he should be a free agent. I'm about to go ahead and check.
Yeah, I mean John Bates, I'd be up in the air on that. I mean, I guess you could bring him back. It shouldn't cost you that much to retain him. Yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on those particular guys. At the end of the day, I feel like with a Diami Brown, you can draft a Diami Brown. Honestly, like I respect what he
Well,
did. I respect what he did down the stretch, but
I think there's more
else.
to it though, Brad. Like even if you don't want Diami, and we'll have like a full like preview of what's coming in March, but Adam Peters and Cliff is gonna have like familiar faces in free agency. Zacchaeus, you can entertain him, but like in terms of re-signing, and even Diami, you can. Me personally, and I'm not like this ain't my full deep dive because I want Dre to get his thoughts in, but Hollywood Brown is going to be a free agent, and I think for Cliff, like that was a big piece for him in Arizona. And I think for how he's been able to come back since his injury, he ain't been doing serious numbers or like really been killing it in the league. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying is for him to like be sustainable, like be reliable in terms of his health since he's gotten over that injury, makes him more reliable or more attractive in free agency for a familiar face such as a Cliff Kingsbury and bringing him to Washington. And that's why I say, like, if you want somebody who's a level up, he's more dynamic, that is where a Hollywood Brown comes in for Washington specifically because of the Cliff familiarity and what he can do in the Cliff offense. But AJ, you about to say something, but Dre, you got the floor whenever.
Yeah, I tweeted about this earlier. I mean, in Cliff's time in Arizona, he would go all out for guys that, show that sign of being able to stretch the field. I mean, he traded the first round pick for Hollywood Brown from the Baltimore Ravens. He went and signed, a Robbie Anderson after he got released from Carolina. He made a major trade to go acquire DeAndre Hopkins. He's not a speedster, but he knows how to run routes, and he's a threat to get open. He also drafted speedsters like a Rondell Moore, shorter.
Bates is a tight end. I'm a free agent. My bad. You're a free agent.
Yeah. Also, Andy Isabel. Those are guys that were running in the low 4.3s. Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's some players in this draft, man. There's some guys that also bring to the table kind of what Hollywood Brown does. Isaiah Bond, formerly of Alabama with Texas. Yeah, there's some dynamic players that they can add to go around Jaden Daniels. I just hope that they heavily invest in those draft picks being assets and playmakers. But we'll see what happens. But I'm not hard pressed on like Adami Brown coming back in. By the way, just to kill this Micah Parsons thing, unless Micah Parsons becomes a free agent, that's the only way in hell he's going to get to Washington, because Jerry Jones would never trade Micah Parsons to Washington. Even if they wanted to give up the next 10 years of their draft, he would never do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much else to add, but I mean, yeah, I'll keep the obvious ones. I mean, yeah, Bobby, I would bring him back for sure. Ertz, of course, he wants to be back. I'll bring him back. Mariota, Gianni, I'm honestly a little bit sour on him, and the reason being, I mean,
is it the fumble?
No, well, I was going to forgive the fumble, but then once I saw kind of his presser at the end of the year, which is fine. I mean,
let's talk about it. I wanted to bring that up. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Like I said, it's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the tone I got from him is that whatever. I mean, I could, I ain't pressed to be here. If they want me here, that's cool. But it's a business. That's pretty much the tone I got from it. I'm like, motherfucker, you just fumbled and was one of the catalysts for us losing. So, you could bounce, bro.
So you still got the floor, Dre, but the comment part, I actually understand why fans are a little perturbed by his comments. But like and AJ, I think this is important for you. Like I didn't take that any type of way, because I felt like he just didn't want to step on toes, like for the work that his agent might be doing. Like I would imagine he's in a situation where he knows that he can go into free agency after a playoff performance like that, where I think he's actually leading the NFL. I mean, it's one more game left, but he's leading the NFL in the playoffs in terms of receiving yards. I would imagine that he's in this position where like he can make some money from another team, and this is his first time ever being in that situation. So when somebody asks him that question, I think it is as simple as saying, I would love to be back. But I feel like he's also in a position where it's like he knows that he don't want to step on any type of negotiations either, in that type of situation.
I get that. I do. But I guess just listening to like Mariota and them kind of talk, they sounded a little different. Like they love to hear,
they pushing 40, bro.
Yeah, but Mariota could probably find a little, a chance to kind of compete for a starting job this year. Maybe what he put out on tape, somebody can say, hey, man, you might be a placeholder for a rookie quarterback. Kind of like, what's his name? Jacoby Brissett was this year. Like, Brissett went up to New England. He was the placeholder for a little bit up there in New England before Drake May took over. I mean, Mariota could be in one of those type of spots this coming year, especially with this rookie class. I mean, and again, like I said, I get it. Like, I mean, it is a business and all. But to me, I just took a complete different vibe from it, that he didn't care if he was here one way or the other. Like, he didn't say, it was just a tone to me, like I said, because Mariota, Ertz, a couple of other different guys, they were like, man, I love the bonds I built here. The team's great, but at the same time, it's a business. All of them mentioned that it is a business because it is a business. But Diami, just the tone I got from him is, shit, hey, it's a business. I can do, it is. If I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not.
I mean, Dre, I think it's a situation on the individual, right? Like you said, there's guys, even though they're older, but they also have touched money. You feel me? Diami being a third round pick, he hasn't touched really good money yet. He also was smelling himself a little bit. It's not like this dude had like over 100 receiving yards. It's not like he had over 100 receiving yard games. He had some solid contributions, but you also haven't done that consistently over the matter of years. But to some pundits out there, or not even pundits, but to some GMs, that could be enticing enough for him to get a deal that could pay him. It's not going to be life-changing money. Well, yeah, it could be. When I say life-changing money, it's not going to be 20+ million a year, but it's going to be a nice chunk of change. And I think that Diami's in a situation where he got hot at the right time. Of course, the fumble doesn't help, but I mean, it's not necessarily going to hurt the eyes of the GMs interested in him. He's a taller guy that can run, limited route tree, but he also realizes that what he wants and what him and his agent have already discussed and where he envisions himself being financially, he knows Washington's not going to pay him that. Another team is going to be desperate enough and pay him what he wants, and he's going to be out the door. So in his mind, he's already mentally preparing not to be back here because he's going to go wherever the money resides. That's it.
What was KJ Osborne's role on this team?
He was just a cheerleader.
Yep, he's a pending free agent. I have no idea what he wanted, but you know what's funny? And how some fans kind of, bro, put it this way: Odell Beckham did not get signed by any team during the playoffs. It is what it is. Deontay Johnson went back to, where did he go? He went back to either Houston or Baltimore. One of them.
He went back to Baltimore to get for them to get the comp pick.
He went back to Baltimore. I remember the time of KJ being signed and Odell being released. Now this ain't about Odell. This is about KJ. People had it in their mind that they thought that Odell was so bad and not worth entertaining that KJ Osborne fit this offense perfectly. That man probably saw about 10 snaps the entire season he was here with Washington. It's the same amount of snaps that he probably saw in New England as a practice squad player. I'm looking at the sheet of free agents for Washington. 27 years old. I don't know what's next for KJ Osborne, but if you're listening to this and you were one of the ones who, during that period where he was freshly signed and thought that he was going to be like a perfect fit for this offense, just keep that in mind moving forward, that you were dead wrong. I think personally, I would entertain Bobby Wagner and bringing him back. I have no problem with Bobby. I love his intensity. I love his preparation. I love his ability, preparation in terms of just being ready on the field and understanding what he sees. I think situationally, I would love to have him on the field. I understand at 34, about to be 35 years old, going into 2025 season, that that age is going to be a little shaky for him, but also athletically, he's going to be a little bit of a problem. And I think, but situationally, if you can use him in run situations, and even as a blitzer, he was amazing for Washington as a blitzer. I think you can use Bobby Wagner. But that's somebody that I would bring back, but that's also somebody I would have to have an actual specific plan for moving forward. Jeremy Chin is somebody who I'd love to bring back, but at 27 years old, about to be 27 years old, that's somebody I look at, fellas, and I'm like, yeah, Chin is going to get some attention this offseason, rightfully so. But I also think that what goes in Washington's favor for re-signing Jeremy Chin is knowing the faith that he had in Dan Quinn to begin with and Joe Witt to begin with. And why would you want to leave something like that where you had one of your best seasons since you ever had? That you ever had since your rookie season, where you was actually competing like with Hawks man, Chase Young. So I think Jeremy Chin is somebody that I would love to bring back, and I think that they do have a good shot at bringing them back. Cleveland Farrell, the experiment didn't work out. Trust Wade, 35 years old, bring him back. I think if he wants to play, they'll keep him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Dante Fowler, hell of a season. But I mean, you bring him back for a 1-year deal, 2-year deal. I think that works. But at the end of the day, bro, like Dante, he brought you 10 sacks, but are you going to bank on that person bringing you 10 sacks every year or close to 10 sacks? For the amount of for the role that he actually had in this offense, defense, I don't see it. I think that whole defensive line needs an overhaul. You got guys like Sheldon Day, Carl Davis, who was around because they needed some depth for the guys that they didn't like from the previous regime. They got rid of some of those guys who were under contract, and they got these guys for 1-year deals. They're going to let them go too. So, like, you need a whole overhaul with this defensive line. I don't know what the future holds for John Allen, Deron Payne, but Dante Fowler, Cleveland Farrell, I thought that they did well for a year, but I don't put too much stock in Dante coming back and doing the same exact thing or anything close to what he had this year. I think this year was as good as it gets, and I'm appreciative of that season. Couple more that I don't have to elaborate on. Zach Ertz, I'll bring him back. Cornelius Lucas is interesting. He's 33, though. He's about to be 34. I think his time is getting up there. Trent Scott, person that they relied on and replaced it, Sam Cosmi. I'm not necessarily, I mean, the offensive line need to overhaul too. And we'll talk about that as the episodes move forward. But I think the interior is going to have some question marks. I think your best offensive lineman this entire season was the free agent that you signed in Tyler Biadasz. And I think next up was Sam Cosmi. But honestly, Sam Cosmi and then Andrew Wiley. But I think Sam Cosmi and Andrew Wiley was like a 2A and 2B. Like, that's how good they were together. But I think Biadasz was your number one. But interior-wise and offensive line-wise, like, you got to kind of refigure that whole thing. AJ said Noah Igbenogany, he let him go. I'd keep him. I think Noah isn't necessarily a starter, but he proved that he can come onto the field in some critical situations and be your fill-in or be like your dime player. So I would love to keep Noah Igbenogany. There's another cornerback, that's a free agent. Ben St. Juste. I don't think that he's going to necessarily be around much longer, but he may have an opportunity in free agency to, find a spot to compete for a starting role. Who else do we got? Both kickers, Zane Gonzalez and Austin Seibert. That's kind of, that's out there. John Bates, I don't necessarily think that you bring him back. I think there's like a core like 5 that you bring back. Zacchaeus is on the fence. Jameson Crowder you can let go, but Zacchaeus is 27, about to be 28. You can keep him around and see what you can bring in front of him in terms of depth wise. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think this is one of those things where you keep about 4 or 5 and you gotta refill with the free agency pool, and then you gotta find out what's going on in the draft. Excuse me. So that's kind of the situation I think they're in free agency is get some of your core 4, core 5, but extend Terry. I don't know who else is out there in terms of extension opportunities. Who am I thinking of that's probably like on a 1 year, like that has 1 or 2 years left? Like, what about John Allen, who has no guarantees on his contract? Like, do y'all think that he outplayed Daron Payne since he came back from injury?
One of the other guys. One of them has
to go at this point. And I think this is because what we talk about, you're starting to reshape the team and division. Like, I think John Allen, he's a great leader and all, but when you look at what him and Payne has done as a collective, it's not worth the penny, and they're making a lot of money. So there's going to be a decision to be made. And if I had to predict today, I do think that John Allen would be the one that goes between him and Payne.
Yeah, I think John Allen definitely has to move on. I don't think that is worth getting rid of Daron Payne. I think he can be a vital part in what you want to do continuing going forward. It's all about how
I think John rushed the passer better than Daron, though. Brian gonna lie to you.
Yeah, but I also think if they can get like a Myles Garrett on that D line with a Payne, it could be disruptive. I know you don't want to talk about hypotheticals, but it's a reality that's going to be discussed.
Wait, let's have a conversation for a second about like this all-season approach, right? So we can actually talk about when you threw out Myles Garrett. Of course, I mean you saw my face, but when you threw that name out, I think part of this offseason too, fellas, and we can kind of enter this conversation. I'll give y'all the floor. I think this offseason is at its most pivotal offseason because that year 1 to year 2, regression isn't always a bad thing. Like, regression can mean you went 12-5. Regression can mean you won 10 games the previous year or 11 games. 10 games the next year or 11 games the next year. Like, you don't necessarily have to go from 12-9 or 12-7, right? But in order to prevent like that big step of regression, you gotta take this leap in the offseason. And I think looking at the talent gap that Washington has, not even just Philly, bro. Like we had that conversation earlier in the episode. But in order to prevent that talent gap that Washington currently has and being able to compete against some of the top dogs in the NFC, San Francisco is going to eventually get their guys back. You have Philadelphia. You struggled with Dallas in both games, right? And they weren't even healthy. Detroit, you got them this year. They weren't even fully healthy. You have to find a way to find like that superstar, whether it's through trade, free agency, or draft. But I think trade is also an underlying or underrated aspect or option for this team, where it's like, how do you find a way to get that superstar on your roster that can really change the game on offense or defense? So that's why I looked at you, I was like, Myles Garrett, that's pretty steep. But I'm also like, if Adam Peters wants to really like take this offseason seriously, that might be on the table, is like finding that critical superstar game changer on offense or defense. That's where I was getting.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen. Like it has to happen, whether it be a wide receiver. I'm just throwing names out there, but these guys have been pretty expressive and wanting out. Tyreek Hill, Myles Garrett. The rumors are of Max Crosby possibly wanting out, depending on the situation there. You gotta be very intrigued in those conversations and seeing what you can make happen. When you have the 29th pick overall in the first round, there's not a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, a Tyreek Hill sitting there at 29. Yes, there's some talent in this draft, but we're talking about game changers, game wreckers. Like, yeah, you get a Myles Garrett to go along with how Joe Witt Jr. calls his defense. Hey, if they had a Myles Garrett in Sunday's game, we'd be talking about Super Bowl, a Super Bowl matchup. God, the honest truth. But hey, I don't know. It's going to be intriguing. I think that we already seen Adam Peters get aggressive in making the move for Marshawn Lattimore, giving up third.
I can't wait to talk about him.
Third and couple other picks. So he understands the long game here, and he also had an understanding of who would be available at cornerback within that draft process, which is why he felt comfortable in making that proclamation that this is our CB1. So yeah, it's going to be an intriguing offseason. I definitely would say stay locked in with us on Trap or Dive. I mean, I've had a couple conversations even with some former guys that like, hey, this might be a spot. I won't put their name out there. Even some current guys that are going into free agency, So it'll be interesting. But I think that Adam Peters takes an aggressive approach. They also took an aggressive approach in getting a Christian McCaffrey. I think that's the one bit of like intrigue for this offseason. How's it gonna go? Because things are moving fast. I mean, it's already Senior Bowl week. We're
Senior Bowl, East West Shrine, bro.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even realize it was both games. It used to be a point where like one game was one week and the other one was the next week. They got them on both weeks, bro.
Yeah,
I mean the same week.
We're so used to covering this team that we're talking about those things in November. You feel me? But the combine is right around the corner as well. So these things are going to happen fast. I mean, February 1st is Saturday. So a lot of these things are going to go from being hypotheticals to possibly reality, and setting up the room for what could possibly happen this free agency and offseason overall in trades, because a lot of guys want to play with Jaden Daniels, and that's going to be the main arguing point or not even argument point, but selling point to any player. Like, hey, we got JD5 and he on a rookie contract.
Hey man, I can't wait to get into these discussions. Don't get me wrong. I'm still teed up about Sunday, bro. But this offseason, I need every single resource associated to the Washington Commanders focused on getting better and trying to win a division in 2025. But all of that can be discussed as the weeks move on. Again, we will be back next week, whether it's the weekend or next Tuesday. All 32 is coming up tomorrow. Commanders Morning Show Friday morning. We'll talk about some more Commander stuff this week. And yeah, we'll have plenty of offseason things to discuss. So, Al Catone, I'm not sure if you're new or maybe you're recent. Either way, appreciate you joining us, bro. I seen your comments about you mentioned Michael Parsons and who was the other guy? You said Brandon Ayuk, bro. I was like, hold on now, Brandon Ayuk ain't going. Look, come on, he just got that extension and he just tore his ACL. Like, no, I'm not laughing about that part. I'm just saying he just got injured and he signed that extension. I don't think he's going nowhere no time soon. So, but appreciate you checking in, everybody. Y'all enjoy y'all evening. Be blessed. We up out of here, man. Dre probably had to pick up his kid. Kid was done with basketball practice, so he's gone. But we out of here. Peace.
Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.